up and welcome to Last Cast. You join us today in Halifax at a local mill pond. Doing something a bit different today, and we're going to look at whip fishing. Now in this country it's sort of a dying art. You rarely see people fishing with a whip. You see a lot of short pole work, shallow stuff like that, but not a lot of whip fishing. So as I say, we're going to cover it today. It's ideal on these natural venues because a lot of them do hold a good stock of small roach, small perch, skimmers, and a few odd eyed as well in this, especially in this lake. And you can often catch them fishing through the water on a whip. And it's a good way of getting the fish out quick. Fishing to hand, as I say, it's a nice quick method and it's good fun, dead easy fishing. You just need a pint of maggot, dead simple. What we're going to show you now quickly is how to attach a rig to the end of a whip. There's lots of different ways of doing it. Some people use a stonfor, some people use dacron, which I used to, but I found I got a lot of tangles. So I've just started doing it a slightly different way. With the end of the line from the rig, first I slip on a piece of 0.7mm silicone. It's a bit fiddly because we're using fairly fine lines. And then I put on a second piece which is a bit shorter. So then what I do with this is slip the top piece onto the top of the whip. As you can see, I've got nothing attached, it's just a plain flick tip by itself. Push that down and give yourself about a couple of inches of the flick tip to work with. And all you're going to do now, so it's fairly secure with the silicone on that way as it is, let's get the other second piece, hold it towards the top end, and just start twisting the line fairly roughly. You'll see it'll work its way up towards the tip. Then just to finish it off, the final piece of silicone goes on the top there. So it is a bit fiddly, this. Just push it on, pull the remaining line through. As you can see, that's about as secure of a connection as you can ever get. Because the line's twizzled round, it'll just pull and tighten itself against that. So there you go, that's how we attach the rig to the flick tip. Very neat, very simple, and it allows you to adjust the length of the line, as I say, depending on the size of fish. You want to be able to swing the fish perfectly to hand. So you can see the rig today we're going to be using is a bit different and something you might not have seen before when fishing with poles or whips. It's actually using a sliding float. And the idea behind this is, as I say, with these mill ponds, there can be a lot of tow, a lot of wind, and especially as we are on the tops today in Yorkshire, the wind can pick up, so you want to be able to get the line behind the float under the surface as you would when waggler fishing. So that's the reason for the selection of float here. So the main line for this is 013, fairly thin, but with plenty of strength to allow us to step up hook sizes and hook patterns if we need to, as with the hook length as well. And that comes down to a little float stop there, and that's going to be the depth marker. This is a very good rig for searching the layers of water because you can move the depth very easily. The float there, we've got a 0.6 Drennan glow tip antenna. Perfect float for this style of fishing because it allows you to read lift bites, and as you'll see in a second with a positive dropper, you can tell when the fish has held up the bait or allows for a good indication. Moving down, we've got the bulk for that float, which is about 0.5 of a gram. And with whip fishing I prefer to use styles. Now these create almost like a leaded length of line, which basically allows the line beneath the shot to be kicked out, and it just prevents tangles. The name of the game with whip fishing is keeping it simple, strong, and making sure you can avoid tangles at all costs, because that'll cost you time if you're trying to build a weight. That comes down to one dropper. Again, I see people using 2, 3, number 10, stuff like that. I prefer to use one big heavy dropper. That's a number, I think 12 style, so it's about 0.8 of a gram, so like a number 8. Nice heavy dropper, so that's going to give a perfect registration on the float tip when that's hit depth, so I'll know exactly where the bait is at any given point. Again, with these it's dead easy to change the depth and the shotting permutation just by moving these up and down the line. And I've not put the hook length on as yet, but what I think we'll start with today is a 0.08 hook length down to an 18 B511. Potentially, if it's a bit difficult, might step that down to a 20 B511. They're nice light hooks, so they'll have a nice slow fall through the water, but they've got a wide gape, which is crucially important when you're whip fishing because it gives them the maximum purchase on the fish's lip when you're trying to swing them to hand. There's no point having maggot pattern hooks in my opinion because the amount of fish that you're going to lose as you're swinging them is too high. So you want a wide gape hook, but with a fairly fine wire gauge. So as I say, there's no point plumbing up with this kind of rig because of the depth. We're just going to be looking to search through the layers and try and guess where the fish are through the feed, and as I say, reading the shots as they're falling. So what I'll do now is get the hook length on and start feeding. Right, so we're going to make a start now. As I say, 3 metre whip. You're limited usually on these kind of venues by what's above you, and today we've got a bit of tree cover above us, so if I could I'd fish a 4 metre, but 3 metre should be alright. Gets us far enough out from the bank. So just slipped a single red maggot on, starting at about 2 or 3 feet deep, and as you can see there, the line's going to go through the float there and cock. So now we've got a marker for the distance out. You see behind the float, the line's all sunk. It's just going to start loose feeding now. So I might need to add a few trimming shot to this, just to get it settled down. I think that might take another number 11 or so. Just add a little indication there. Straight into the first fish of the day. As you can see, even with the rig not properly shotted there, I've managed to get a good bite indication. Nice little roach, about an ounce or so. These are good little weight builders to start with. So I'm just going to quickly add another little number 11 to this rig. You see how quickly we can get bites. Right, so after that first fish there, I've just added a couple more number 13 trimming shot. As I say, these floats are very sensitive, so you want to get it absolutely perfect every time. So a little flick of the whip there. That's got the line sunk behind the float. As you can see, I've had a bite straight away there. It's taking the maggot instantly. As you can see there, what will happen, the float will bomb down with the bulk, and you'll see it register to about there. And then as the final dropper picks up, it'll bomb down to about that level, just below the tip, and then the maggot will take it down to about half bristle. So I say it's 3 very positive indications. So if the float doesn't even cock properly, then I know that the fish has taken it before the bulk settled. If it gets to about halfway, then I know it's taken it above the dropper. And then if it reaches full depth and then goes, then I know that I need to deepen off a little bit just to get below the fish really with the dropper, because that's what you want to give the bite. So just a couple of maggots around the float. You don't need to feed much with this method initially. You can see there the dropper's settled. It's not gone quite yet. So that very light hook pan, there it goes, and it's a fish on straight away. So as I was saying there, the fish are just hanging below that final dropper there. The fish took it before the maggot sank, but after the dropper. So what I'm going to do, that tells me that the fish are just a little bit deeper. So I'm just going to take 3 or 4 inches. So dead easy to adjust with this kind of rig. Slip another maggot on, and hopefully this fish will take it just as that dropper's settling. As I say, that's what you want to get it. This kind of method, because it's so positive, allows you to read very easily where the fish are in terms of the depth. It's much more effective. See, bite straight away there. So I know that that fish has taken it just as that dropper's settled. And just a few maggots. Didn't quite settle that time. I think a small one held it up. So a nice positive knock there as the bulk goes down. There's the dropper. No bite just yet. The maggot's just starting to take up now, as you can see. That's started to pimple down. There we go. Just had a bite then. So once again, I'm just going to deepen off ever so slightly. You want to move the bulk up as well, proportionally to the depth that you're fishing. I like to have the bulk right above the hook, well the bulk about 10 inches above the dropper normally. But as you go a bit deeper, it's worth just moving that up a few inches. But the dropper needs to be as close to the hook as you can get, so I prefer it 6 inches away, just right on that hook length knot. Occasionally, if the fish are feeding very aggressively, then I might even take it down to a 4-inch hook length and have it at that distance. Same again, just a flick of the whip there and sinking the line behind the float. As I say, this sliding float allows you to keep a tight line at all times between the whip and the hook. And it's just settling down now. So the dropper's down. So the crucial thing when you start weight fishing is keep a good consistent flow of bait and find out where the fish are taking it. There's no indication that time. Just have another couple of casts, then I might think about changing the depth again. I say the essence is with this style of fishing, you don't want to be waiting for bites. You're looking to catch fish as quickly as possible. Another small roach there. So I should be able to feed these off. But again, they're all good weight builders, and when you can start putting a good string of those together, you can see how you can build a weight very quickly. It's also a very instant method as well, so it's a good method to start with on a natural venue if you're in a match. So yeah, that's 2 fish in a row. That's a slightly better roach this time. So that just changing depth there has brought 2 fish straight away in quick succession. So again, these are the little things you need to be looking for. Is the bite rate and the catch rate. The maggot's still good. One thing you can get away with when you're whip fishing is hooking the maggot fairly crudely. You want to try and catch as many fish on the same hook bait as possible, just to speed up the process. So if you're fishing against other people in a match and they're using the same method, it's all going to come down to how quickly you can get these fish out and into your net. So you just missed a bite there. Hopefully as the day progresses, we might be able to get into some better fish just by chopping and changing the depth and the feeding pattern. Just missed a couple of bites in a row there. Fish might have gone a little bit deeper again. As I say, we'll be able to catch them higher and higher in the water the more feed that we can get into the peg and the more regular we can keep feeding. Missed a few bites there. And I'll have one more. I'll just see if I need to go a little bit deeper. Oh, got another one now. Smaller fish this time. It's had the hook bait, that one. As I say, what I'm going to do is just go a little bit deeper again. Just a few more inches. As I say, throughout the course of the day, you want to be looking to catch these fish a bit shallower each time as they pick up confidence. Again, we've started fairly early in the day today, so the cooler temperatures, the fish will naturally be a bit deeper. With any luck, we'll be able to get into a few better roach and possibly the odd eyed if we're lucky. Yeah, another fish again. Tiny roach this time. So they are taking the bait quite confidently, so they are knackering the maggot a little bit. Again, another option that you've always got with this kind of fishing is just fish a dead maggot, which I've got a few on my side tray as well. So that's if the fish are feeding really aggressively, because you can get away with catching 4 or 5 fish on the same maggot that way. Just missed another one there. I think got the depth right. I'm getting a bite of chuck now already. They're just taking it after that final drop has settled, which is perfect. So I don't think they've got their confidence up quite yet, but again, that's going to come with a bit more feeding. One's just held it up there. As you can see, the advantage with the whip is how quickly I can be in and out of the water. Compared to fishing a short pole, I'd have to ship back, ship in and out. You can't quite keep up the pace. Again, small fish holding up the bait there. Might have to shallow up again. As you can see, I'm changing the depth a lot with this style of fishing, and that's what it basically comes down to, is feeding pattern and depth. It's a very active method and you've really got to keep thinking. Just missed another one there. So there's quite a few small fish in the peg and they're just nipping at the end of the maggot. Got one now. Just luck would have it, he's landed in the landing net. So they've bust the maggot there, so I'm going to shallow up this time. So I've had a few bites there just as the bulk was settling. So if you can imagine that you're putting an ounce or two in the net every minute or so, how quickly you can build a weight over the course of a few hours. So a little indication there. There's plenty of fish in the peg, it's just sussing out what depth they're at and the correct feeding pattern. That time the bait's reached full depth there and we're not getting a bite. It's an important thing to consider that the bait always needs to be moving. Again, as with a pole where you'd be lifting and dropping, with a whip you've got to keep bringing it in, flicking it back out to get that rise and fall of the bait. And there's a fish. You can see how quickly from the bite the fish is already in my hand and in the keep net. And then back out again. And just a couple more maggots around the float. I'm going to cut down the feed just a little bit, but start feeding a little bit more regularly. Just up the competition just that little bit more. Try that again. Just a little indication there. I may well just go a couple of inches deeper because the fish are just beneath the hook bait, it seems. So I'm not getting quite as many bites. So once again, just deepen off. So that's the advantage of this style of rig, is how quickly you can adapt it to suit the conditions that you're faced with. Let's put on a fresh maggot. And sink the line. A few maggots around the float. We were rewarded with the fish straight away after changing depth there. You can see it's these little differences that make a big change to the weight that you've got in the keep net at the end of the day. And as you can see with the ripple on the water here, the float's staying nice and stationary there. Because we're being able to sink the line using this style of rig. If you're using a standard pole float, you'd very soon lose control of the float as it begins to drift towards you. Whereas this, I'm able to get the float out to where I need it to be, sink the line and fish straight away. Just missed a bite there. So definitely getting a few more bites now. It's just a case of hitting them. It might be an idea for me to step up in hook size if I keep missing bites like this. There's another fish. So just getting into a steady stream of roach here. I've only been fishing for a few minutes, but I've already got about half a dozen to a dozen fish in the net, something like that. So just by chopping and changing with the feed and the depth, might be able to sort out a few better fish later on. Roach. The fish have just come shallow now. Yeah, the fish are definitely shallow. I've just hooked a better fish here. Just shallowed right up, we stopped getting a few bites and it looks like a good hide, this one. It's a very nice fish and he's in the net. So that change of depth instantly rewarded with a better fish. That's a cracking one to catch on the whip, that. Lovely fish. Hopefully I can just pop the hook out. There we go. Cracking fish to catch on the whip. As I say, just shallowed up by about a foot there and straight away this one's nailed it. So those are the bonus fish you're looking for there to just reinforce that backing weight that you've got with the small roach. Bonus fish like that are really welcome. Into another hide here. Again, just shallowing up a little bit more. I've had a run of roach and then just another good quality hide there. Not as big as the last one, but still a nice sized fish. It's taking the bait really confidently. Yep. Nice fish there. So with the two hide there and the plenty of roach that we've already had, we're on our way to building a good weight here. So only been going for an hour or so. And as I say, a bit more feed, sussing out where the fish want to be in the water in terms of depth. We've been rewarded with a good run of fish there. Shallowed right up for that one. Just get him in the net. Took another 6 inches off the depth there. Another quality hide this time. Just nicked on the inside of the lip. There we go. Lovely fish. Right, so I think we'll call this the last fish of the session. Another small roach. We've had plenty of these today. As I say, hopefully this will give you a bit of an introduction into whip fishing and just the method and how we go about employing it on these natural type of venues. So what we'll do now is we'll just have a look at what we've caught. I mean, we've only been fishing it for 2.5, 3 hours, something like that, and only used about half a pint of maggots, something like that. So we'll have a look at what we've caught now. Right, so as you can see, this is our final catch for a couple of hours work on the whip there. Probably good 8 to 10 pound of silvers there. It's not bad work for half a pint of maggots. We've got 3 good size eyed in there. As you can see, a good mix of roach there, averaging about probably 2 or 3 ounces with a few better fish, and the occasional small skimmer as well. As I say, we'll get these returned now, and hopefully, as I say, this is giving you a good introduction into whip fishing. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe as well, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next one.